Hello everyone and welcome back to the Marcus the Chess Teacher channel. I know this video has been long overdue. I'm going to do a Q&A session today just for a couple of reasons. Firstly, I managed to pass 3,000 subscribers, which is quite nice. And secondly, because I know there's some unanswered questions in relation to the Scotland mission that happened in early April this year. Thank you for everyone who sent in questions. I'm just going to try and answer a few of them now. They're all actually fans of the videos. They all got in touch with me either in the comments section on YouTube or just by email. They found my email somehow. But they've all been extremely helpful, and needless to say, if you are interested in helping me in one of these missions, please do get in touch in some form or other. We did look at various lines for the Scotland mission. Having failed this line, we may well attempt it again at some point, but perhaps from the opposite direction, or we're looking at similar lines to do that. For sure, if we do another mission, the main thing for us would be to have lighter packs. So we will have more either stash points or more support. My shoulders really were in a bad state afterwards, so that's something for sure we can improve. Often when you do something like this, you always think when you're sitting at home that, oh, you could have done a lot better. But then when you're actually out there, if you go and stand in the rain, let's say for 20 minutes, then it's pretty unpleasant. Just stand out in the street, for example. And that sort of reminds you actually that, yeah, I thought I did all right, not too bad anyway. I was pretty cold, but I wasn't as bad as I had been on the previous missions. And I'd actually trained quite well for this previous mission. So in some respects, I did everything I could to make myself ready. Things conspired against us. Obviously, we should have had a better strategy for the river crossing, but that's something we can take on board for the next one. We did consider it strongly. Unfortunately, the forecast for the remaining days that we were up there was not that great. So if it had cleared up potentially the following day or been forecast to do so, then for sure that would have been what we'd have done, I reckon. But actually it was going to get worse. So we just felt that seeing as we couldn't cross the river, we just had to call it a day there and then and come back stronger next time. Yeah, I think stashes are pretty important for long missions. That or having a pretty dedicated support team. The issue really on this Scotland mission was the access points, because there are only a certain number of access roads there up in the Highlands. With a place like Wales, you can often meet up with a support crew every few miles. But up in Scotland, the first, let's say, 10 or 12 miles was completely remote. So it's very hard to get, even get signal, let alone get a support crew up there. Likewise, if we had tried to stash, then we would have had to gone out there a day or two earlier and then hiked to the line at some point, and that would have taken a long time. So I don't think that would have been possible, but for sure we could have made a bit more progress perhaps on day one, but obviously the food poisoning put pay to that. Well, I really hope so. I feel like I've been doing this for long enough now that I've become more and more determined that I am going to try and do it. And I think, okay, the last Scotland mission had its downfalls, but I reckon that one felt the best out of the four. And I think that, well, fingers crossed, I can complete one soon. Yeah, I like that turn of phrase actually, the Alpine style. I think it does make it harder, as the chap says here. But to be honest, I think we will make some amendments for the next mission. We'll certainly have lighter packs. There's no way, and unfortunately, that I can carry a huge backpack like that for 40 odd miles without suffering in some way. Even if we have to forego a couple of essentials, we supposedly maybe a tent, or we share tent, something like that. That will be the compromise. But I don't like the idea of just going out there without any kind of backpack or whatever. I think the sort of main straight line missioners have been going in that direction. I prefer the idea of carrying at least most of my stuff, you know, in case of emergency as well. You know, if there was a problem, I would need to set up camp sort of on the spot. That could be quite important. So I'd rather be carrying at least a tent or something for situations like that. Well, this is the big question, I think, isn't it? I feel like it's difficult to have this kind of, you know, perfect run. What I do find is that when something goes wrong on a mission, if there's some kind of problem, things tend to snowball out of control. So, for example, on my second Wales mission, when I got to the top of that huge climb on day 2, I got kind of stranded up there, and it got too dark. I fell into a little underground stream, got wet, struggled to put my tent up, everything snowballed. What I'm hoping is that I can have a really good first couple of days in a mission, and then if stuff goes wrong, it might go wrong towards the end, and I can sort of suffer for a bit. For sure, I need to make sure that I've got really good food, good supplies there, but not too heavy a backpack, because that is a bit of a killer. And I think probably I should have learnt that by now. That'll be the main improvement for next time. Well, funnily enough, I was hoping that we would get up to Scotland a day or two in advance, but I was getting a lift with Alistair and Bethany this time round, and they had some prior engagement the previous day, so we had to hare it up to Scotland on the day before the mission, and then pretty much go straight from there. Obviously, I had the food poisoning incident, so ironically, I think if we'd have started a day earlier, that would have been potentially worse, because I could have been out on the moors being sick or whatever, and that would have been even more unpleasant. But yes, in an ideal scenario, I would like to be sort of acquainted with the surroundings at least a day in advance. I would say the same. You know, I'm sure Dio Wizard would be the same. Yeah, this is a common question I think that I see. For Scotland, if you try and go up there in the Highlands, there's a lot of kind of midges and insects, that kind of thing, that can thwart you. You don't want to get some kind of, you know, disease or whatever from the midges up there. Doing it in more overcast and sort of wet conditions kind of has its benefits too. If you get too hot on these missions, you need to drink a lot more water, and to do that, obviously you need to carry the water, so it makes your backpack heavier. And of course, the hedgerows and stuff like that will be much bigger, more vegetation. I would say it's actually far more difficult to do a straight line mission in the summer, just because the obstacles are bigger. Yeah, I would say that sticking to autumn or spring, or maybe even the fringes of winter, is still the way to go. As for the bridge that you may have seen in the distance on day 3 of the mission when we were by the river, the bridge unfortunately was about 400 or 500 meters upstream. So if we'd have gone over it, then we would have had to have deviated off the line by far too much. We would have officially gone outside 100 meters, which I think is classed as a fail, according to the sort of platinum, gold, silver, bronze. We could have maybe continued as kind of a training mission, but I think when there's nothing really at stake, it kind of feels a little bit pointless to some extent. Well, instead of training, we actually went back to Will's house. He lives up in the Highlands. We ordered a nice curry that night that we had to abandon. So all was not lost. And later that week, I actually ordered another pizza delivery. So even though I had food poisoning about a week or so earlier, I still managed to get over that and order another pizza. So all was not lost. For a while, I've been considering Luxembourg as a potential option. I think that a fan of the franchise, so to speak, he got in touch with me to send, for example, a line across Luxembourg. We're in discussions about that, but it's likely that we will stick with Wales and Scotland for the moment. And I think that Wales is kind of the one that I'd most like to crack, because it was the original one, the one that GeoWizard attempted first off to start the whole thing going. Also the one that I had to go at first off. So it would feel like some kind of closure if I was to complete it. And also Scotland, I think, is the most doable, with slightly better planning and, well, better execution. I think it can be done, and it's the most likely country that I will complete, I think. I'm hoping that I'll have at least one more crack at either, and we'll just see what happens then. Yeah, a couple of people have asked me this actually. I have considered it, but I sort of don't really want to become an influencer type, really. I just quite like having a go at stuff that I've not tried before. I may do something a little bit different to a straight line mission at some point. I feel that perhaps once I've completed the straight line mission, then I will diversify into other areas. I've got no particular aim in terms of subscriber numbers or whatever. Maybe I can get to sort of like 10,000 and then, I don't know, then we'll see what happens. But for now, I think we'll stick with the straight line missions and maybe the odd chess video. Seeing as this channel is called Marcus the Chess Teacher, I suppose there's not many chess videos on the channel, but I know that most of the fans are straight line mission aficionados, so I guess the fans have spoken. Well, I keep failing because basically I'm not very good at them. I don't particularly care that I failed. What matters to me is that I've made a bit of progress, and I think eventually I will get it done in some country or other, and then it will feel like a huge achievement. As for teaching chess, I quite enjoy it. I'm self-employed, and I don't have a boss. I can dictate what I do, don't have to answer to anybody. I enjoy it. I like my chess. I like teaching kids. And as for the person that wrote that, well, you know, I'd like to see what you do. So thanks very much again, and hopefully you'll be hearing more from me in the autumn, perhaps. But in the meantime, yeah, I would love it if you could subscribe and like the videos, gives them a bit more traction, you know. Thank you as always for your support, and speak to you soon.